Well, I was going to work, coming home from work, and I saw that this computer was still sitting in the lot, and I picked it up and brought it home. This is an Optiplex D260 model, and I'm stripping it right now with my first computer that I ever owned, which was the best, the Dell Dimension 2350. I just switched fans because the fan that was in this computer was absolutely loud. And it'll have to get the full speed just for it to not make a rattling noise. And I just took the fan out of this one. I took the PSU out of it. Now I tried to power it up. It didn't power up. The board lit up, but there was no power. It didn't boot. So I'm just going to try the PSU on this computer, and then we're going to see what happens with the new fan. Okay, I've got the PSU in. I just have power to the motherboard, power to the processor, and I've got the fan plugged in to the motherboard. And this is the 250 watt power PSU replacing the 200 watt PSU that was already in here. I'm just trying to see if the computer works. For future purposes, I'm keeping this computer because I want to put a new motherboard in here and make this my ultimate gaming machine. It's not going to be super fast. It's going to be like a Core 2 quad. I mean, that's fast. I just want to make sure I have enough airflow. I may have the case modded, or may think about water cooling blocks. I don't know. I don't know if it will fit in here, but I may have a modded case. See if I can get that. So we're gonna plug it in and see what happens, or see if we get a light on the motherboard at least. Plugged into the machine now. Now we're just gonna plug it into a power line. Oops. We got a green light on the motherboard. So now we're gonna see if it powers up. Make sure this thing's nice and tight. We're gonna see if it powers up. No powering up. So what we're gonna do is put it in the IDE hard drive and see if that does it. Now this is our Western Digital Caviar 20 gigabyte drive that came with the Optiplex, and the one that was already in the Dell Dimension factory was a 30 gigabyte Western Digital Protege, which was probably the best drive because it was tip-top performance, even with the years it had been used. This computer is 8 years old. The Dimension, and this Dimension 2350 was the best old computer I've ever owned, opposed to the old HP I used to have. So we're gonna plug this machine in. Well, I gotta use two hands because the power supply isn't locked in. Now this power supply works. It definitely works. I can't use it anyway. It's too low in power. I heard a click come from the motherboard and the hard drive. I heard that move a little bit. So now we're gonna see if it boots up. Still no power. Okay, well, we're going to put the old PSU back in here and see if that does it. Okay, the light on this is much brighter than that PSU, so I believe that PSU was it. I plugged this in. The old fan started to power up a little bit. I didn't even hit the power button, so we'll see if this works. Here we go. Now it's turning on. The fan turns on at a very low RPM, and it still makes a little tapping sound, but it's quieter than the other one. That PSU was bad. That's what that was. The PSU on that one was bad. I don't know why. Hard drive wasn't plugged in. That's why it wasn't booting up all the way. So we're gonna try plugging this hard drive in and seeing what happens. Now the computer's booting up, but it's turning on and then restarting. You hear the fan, and then you hear the drive booting up. So I'm just gonna figure out why it's doing this, and then I'll see if it'll post. Well, I just identified that the board on this one, the PSU that came with this computer was bad, and I tried it in the Dimension, didn't work. I swapped power supplies from the Dimension and put it in here, and the power supply powered on. I guess it recognized the board or whatever. The fan, however, that I put from the Dimension into this machine, the Optiplex, didn't work because the way they fit in, it's all 3-pin, but the hole was a little bit too small. This pin right here, has little lips at the end, and the board doesn't have space for that. So that fan in there is quieter than this one, but what I'm going to do is just strip them of the parts and see what I can do motherboard wise when it comes to building a new computer, because what I'm going to do is take that one apart. This is my Dimension. It's got the new sound card, it's got a Wi-Fi card in it, BNG, and it's got a graphics card in it that really is only good for dual monitor support and DirectX 8, but it's compatible with 9. It barely runs 9. So these computers are now being stripped of the parts. I'll just see if I can find a place to recycle the parts at, because I don't need the boards in here no more. They're all Pentium 4s. It's 2011, and I don't think I could play games on these anyway. But it was a great experience finding this computer and just messing around with the parts and everything. I think I'm going to use this one as my gaming computer. I just need to see what boards it fits, and just a lot of research to do. Okay, I don't have too much light in here. I don't even have a light in here. I'm using my webcam light. But this Dell Optiplex tower, not the small form factor. This is the real big one, the one that opens up like a book. Just a tip: if you're planning to take the motherboard out of this computer, which I'm doing right now, I'm stripping the parts, and I'm going to build a new gaming machine out of this particular machine if it actually works. Yeah, if you're trying to take the motherboard out and you don't know how to, instead of going through all that Dell stuff, there's a little tab right here. This is where the PCI slots are, and then you go all the way over here. There's a little tab. You bend that forward at a 45-degree angle, and when you bend it forward, just use your strength, don't break it, but bend it forward, and you'll hear something click. Then you pull that tab, you kind of pull that tab up and then out, and then the motherboard tray will come out. This thing actually has a motherboard tray. Those brand new computers that are out, cases, have motherboard trays, but this one's like 100 years old and it has a motherboard tray. This case has a lot of stuff that I like that I cannot find in cases. Like this case is from 2003, and it has toolless, well, almost toolless bays. So here's two more toolless little things, just in case you lose one. There's two more, so you can use it for your drive, your floppy drive and or CD drive, and you can just slide them right in, and no screws required, because this computer has very tight spaces where you couldn't use a screwdriver. So Dell really did a good job with that. So yeah, I'm just gonna probably update this video every time I find something new. But this is probably gonna be my gaming machine. I know Dells have the worst airflow. Look how dusty that is. They have the worst airflow, and that's a big flaw, but I can deal with it as long as you keep good maintenance on your system. I got the specs on the board. I'll read them. I'll say them out to you. Pentium. Well, this came with a Pentium 4. The socket is 478. Maximum memory capacity is 1 gigabyte. It's got an Intel. It's an Intel chipset, so it's an Intel GMA graphics card. I don't know how much memory it holds. It's got AGP X8 and the other AGP, which is right here. Most people don't know this. Actually, this isn't even AGP. This right here, this particular PCI slot that looks like a PCI, it's a PCI 64-bit slot. That's what the internet said. I'm still trying to really determine and confirm that. But this is a AGP X8, and the rest are just PCI slots. Yeah, well, that's just the main stuff. So I'm going to pull this thing out the computer, and I'll update the video again when I find something new.